and I am starting the recording right now. Okay, please put your PowerPoint in presentation mode to make it a little bit larger. I can do this, but I have other things I need to look at. So does this help? Does this help with the viewing capability for everyone? Yes. Okay, good. I'm getting positive response to that. Okay, great job of using chat for giving me constant feedback. I appreciate that. All right, let me move this over. Okay, cool. Let's continue to roll. All right. We actually did looked at some research. Oh, what's going on here? If you're not on, or if you're not going to ask a question, please make sure that you go on mute because we get some pretty wicked feedback. Won't spend a lot of time on this slide either, but just notice this. There was a survey. These are the reason kids play sports: to have fun. Number one, these are in order of importance. Skills, shit. Not to win. That's like way down on the list. Okay, so this is what we're all about. On the flip side, not having fun, not really that skilled, right? This is not a competitive level activity. This is for fun. This is for skills development. And to the coaches that think that they need to, have a winning record to satisfy the kids, it's not. Kids themselves say, "Look, I'd rather play and on a losing team than sit on a winning team." I played basketball all growing up, and I can't even tell you. I had some better seasons than some other seasons, but I can't tell you my record. That I had in my junior year of high school basketball. It really doesn't matter that much, right? Especially in a rec league. Okay. We have 2 codes of conduct. You actually click through and agree to this as you register. One thing or 2 things I wanted to point out here for the parents. This is for the kids. It's not for them. So if you have any issues with your parents, make sure that you remind them that they signed this code of conduct when they signed their kids up. I also wanted to make a point about officials, right? Our officials are mostly, not all of them, but mostly they're teenagers. This is their first job, and that is a really tough first job to have. So we basically say positive things or don't say anything at all. They're not out against you, the officials. They're out there to do the best job that they can. We want them to return and that's a part of their experience. And these are our kids, right? They're your kids. They're our kids that are officiating out there. Okay. Okay, for coaches, same thing. This is don't mean to beat the dead horse here, but we're about putting the emotional and physical well-being above our players. We all want to win games. We like to have a winning season, but not at any cost, right? It's for the kids. It's not for us. Just something important to not lose sight of. So we have a couple of objectives. Just remember, safety first, make it fun, teach the fundamentals, make sure you involve all the kids. You're going to feel great satisfaction by helping those bottom of the rung players, right? At the end of the season, those are the things you're going to remember, right? Getting that player who's never made a basket, and at the end of the season, they make the winning layup or just a free throw, and they've never scored before. It's an amazing feeling to help those kids along, right? Role model our code of conduct and get everyone involved. Okay? All right, a couple things on schedule. We'll slow down as we get into the valuation stuff. I'm kind of breezing through this fronts part, so we have plenty of time. Okay, schedule. This Saturday, we have evaluations. I'm going to get into the details of how that's changed and why. On the 20th, our drafts can begin, and we're going to try to do them a little bit quicker this year and try to wrap them up. I think we usually have like a 2-week window or something like that, Dan?
Yeah, it's usually 2 weeks, and it makes it a real strain on getting the uniforms here in time. So we might make a few changes to that as well.
Okay, so stay tuned for that, but we're going to try to streamline that and get that done, and perhaps in a 3-day window, 2-day window, something like that. Mid-November, teams announced. Early December, we'll be able to start practicing. Of course, December 17th, we have the Jamboree, which is our kind of a bunch of 10-minute games for those that are new to the league. We don't keep score. It's just getting the kids out there and getting some touches on the ball. Uniform distribution, that's as you can see, and then games start Saturday, January 7th. Matthews. Okay, so yeah, definitely. As we talk about evaluations, we don't have a lot of information on the draft, but let's make a note when we talk about evaluations. There's some new rules, so we'll talk that spills off into the draft. Okay. All right. Regular season. It's 10 weeks. 10 games. Right. It's 9 games for the high school kids. Because we have a high school tournament, which we've been doing successfully for the past couple of years, and the kids have a lot of fun. It's a single elimination. It's not an elimination tournament, is it? It's a
single elimination.
It is a single elimination tournament. Yeah. Sorry. Whoops. So, okay, practices. No practice. So first and second grade, those are practice and games. Those are lumped together. Everyone else, you have a 55-minute practice. You get an hour slot. You're supposed to be off the court in 55 minutes to give the other team some time to get on there. In reality, you'll probably push every minute because you have such limited time. But it's fine. It works out. Games are on Saturdays, and a common question we have is, oh, we missed a game. Can we make up because you promised us 10 weeks? No, sorry. We have a 10-week season, and if you miss the game, that's too bad. Okay. A little bit about safety, of course, always paramount to us. If the kids are doing dangerous stuff, then it's no longer fun. It's your responsibility as a volunteer to make sure they're safe. What we do in this league is we have a 2D policy for being live scanned, which is the fingerprint background policy. So we need it, and we want to have 2 background checked adults at a practice or game at all time, and that can be your coach, assistant coach, and the next one would be your facility monitor. If you have little kids, double them up. And some of the bathrooms at some of the schools, you actually have to leave the gym and go outside. So you want an adult monitor. But what you really want to try to avoid is having a single adult with a single kid, outside the gym. So just make it a team thing. Say, all right, bathroom break. You 2, 3, go together, and just have an adult kind of monitor. Don't leave practice. See you, kids. If your kids are old enough to drive, that's okay. Don't give rides to players, right, if you don't have permission. If there's any sort of weirdness, issues, clowns in the parking lot, make sure that you accidents, just make sure that you get to us promptly so you remember all the details.
And one thing we're going to add this year, somewhere on the website, and we'll make sure it's readily available, is an incident report. And it's going to be a real simple thing for you to just quickly go into something, probably be able to do it on your phone as well, and put an incident report in, and it'll go right to me and Johan most likely, and we'll take care of it. Question came in about, is there an 8th grade only girls league this year? No, there will not be. Unfortunately, the 8th grade comprises about 60% of our 8th through 12th division. So it'd be really hard to have the rest of the girls have enough teams to play. So it's
tough.
Yeah, it's tough sometimes. Yeah, a small girl will have a little bit of trouble, but they work around it. I mean,
Yeah. Okay, so we're going to ask you guys to use your common sense and your gut, right? We don't expect you to be doctors or anything, but if there's injury, safely remove the kid from the court. Could be practice, could be whatever, right? I personally have had to call 911 before, so make sure you know the address of your location, not just say, Folsom Middle School. It's really good to have an address. Just be safe. We'll talk about concussion safety in 1 second. A lot of times in FYBA, the parents drop the kids off and take off. So make sure that if anything happens, you call the parents immediately. Always keep all your player records in a folder and bring that with you at all times. During a game, don't enter the court. Parents as well. That's actually for everyone's safety until the ref, kind of waves you over, right? Because on your way into the court, other things can happen. So, other thing, other coaches, the kids themselves, they're going to downplay the injury. I can do it. I can go on, right? And they're going to try to convince you, right? Just be confident and listen to your intuition, right? We'll back you up. Always make safety a priority.
Quick question from Percy. Does printing from prior years work? Yes, if it's an FYBA fingerprint scan, you will not have to do it over again. I'll be sending an email out this week telling you where to get your new scans at. So, but if you've had one from us already, you're good to go.
Yeah, the quick answer for live scanning this year is really simple. There's the UPS store over there by Ashley Furniture in the Broadstone Plaza Parkway. I think the actual address is Bidwell. There's Round Tables over there, Starbucks, Ashley Furniture, the Precor store. There's a little UPS, and they'll do it. Just come in, say I'm with the FYBA, and they'll do it up, and we pay for it, so no cash out of your pocket. Okay. All right. The next, I want to say 5 or 6 slides. I'm not going. It's kind of lengthy because concussion policy is really tricky. Mostly because concussion is really it's kind of hard to diagnose even at a professional level, right? We don't expect you guys to be physicians, and yet at the same time, if some kid falls down, it happens. Right, their feet get swept out from under them, or they clonk heads. What do you do, right? So the concussion safety policy, right, is as follows. If a player exhibits the symptoms of a concussion at any time in a game situation, the clock's going to stop, right? And the player is going to be removed. Again, if they're unsafe and you don't want to move them, right, and like a broken neck situation, or if you suspect that, don't move them, of course. But most of the time, they're going to be like maybe exhibiting some symptoms, and you can get them off to the side, right? And what we want you to do is get 2 volunteers to take a look and talk to that player and try to evaluate, is this kid at the risk of having a concussion? We're not asking you to diagnose them. It's just like, are we going to maybe, possibly? Okay, yeah, what do you think? And unless it's all signs are clear, then we got to pull the kid, right? I got a little bit more into concussion, what some of these things are and some of the symptoms. I encourage you to read through this a couple times because it's a little tricky and nuanced. But the policy is once you do that player needs to be removed for 7 days. And we require a note from the physician to come back and permission to play, right? So in that situation, the referee what happens in the game, right? The referee is going to have some discretion to say, yeah, you can substitute a player, or hey, let's just hold on for a minute or two to check this out, and then continue play with that person. The situation there is you might have a very tight game. It's the 4th quarter. It's emotions are high, right? And everyone's gonna be like, just let him play, it's okay. You have to really resist that and say, no. We're going to take some time and evaluate this. Okay. Like I said, there's a little bit more detail, but guys, concussion, traumatic brain injury, this could be head to floor, head to head. It can be anything. It's any time when you have a really strong whipping of the brain. It's not a bruise. It's different from that. And in fact, on MRIs, I did a lot of research on this. A lot of times concussions don't even show up on MRIs. So there's a lot of research on this. Look at these websites and you'll really get, like the CDC one is really good. It's about a 20-minute training, this little video with role playing of what kids and parents, what kind of pressure they're going to put you under. Really, really excellent. We modeled our policy after it. Basically, we try to make it simple though. And this is our ABCD policy, right? Just be aware of the symptoms. I'll share what those are in a second. I'm not going to read them all, right? I want you to print this out and sort of keep it with your in a binder, right? Be sure to team up. We talked about that. We want 2 people making the evaluations, and I have a comment on that as well about who those people can be. When in doubt, cut them out, and a doctor's note, okay? Being a little bit repetitive here, but here's some of the symptoms, right? Nausea, headache, vomiting, slurred speech. There's some really telltale signs that are pretty clear, but there's some other ones like dizziness and visual problems, a little slow, that are a little bit harder, right? And guess what? They don't show up immediately. They can be 5 minutes or 10 minutes into the after the event has happened. So you got to be aware and continue it. Okay. All right. One thing I want to say is, a parent, a guardian, the coach, the assistant coach, the player themselves, the referee. These are folks that can evaluate and pull the player. Okay. Any of those people. What we don't want, however, is the opposing coach coming in and saying, "Oh, yeah, Johnny, that I know he has a concussion, and you got to pull that guy." Right? Because it happens to be that Johnny's probably the star player, right? So, and you get into some really weird competitive things, and I'm just doing it for the safety of the kids. So what we're just going to say is there's going to be plenty of people who can make an impartial evaluation, or will err on the side of safety, and it's not going to be the opposing coach. Okay, so that's the one carve out of, or the opposing assistant coach, yeah, or the opposing, parent, right? So we're just gonna kind of keep it at that. When in doubt, cut them out. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And a doctor's note provided to the coach and any member of the FYBA, right? And they'll get it to Dan or me. Make sure to report the incident, and there's going to be that's going to be online. Okay, so let me actually back up here. I'm going to go to this slide, and I'm going to pause. I didn't see any questions coming in on the webcast. I'm going to give it a pause for questions. All right. We can always come back to it, guys. Right? So thank you for that. Concussion policy. It's California, the country, but California is concussion crazy right now. So, and our insurance, as you could imagine, requires we do all this stuff, and it's good, safety. So, all right, let's move on to evaluation, shall we? All right, so we looked at the one of the number one complaints, like on our league. We get a lot of compliments. Well run, kids had fun, right? But can we make the teams a little bit more evenly matched? And part of that stems down into how the evaluation process. We really wanted to make it more enjoyable, right? If everybody, we know that not every team is going to have a 50% winning record, but that's our goal, right? We don't want a 10-0 team and a 0-10 team, right? Those extremes aren't fun actually for either side, right? So we felt, hey, we can do this by giving more information to coaches, a little bit more evaluation time, because there's a lot of standing around in evaluations for anyone that's experienced with it. More independent evaluation by coaches, right? There's a lot of groupthink involved, so we think we're gonna, and there's a lot of bias involved. So we want to kind of switch that up. And all this was not just our opinion. It's years on the board, talking to people, our surveys, and even looking at other competitive level basketball programs. Okay, so here's what we're going to do and how we're going to change this up.
Just one thing
Oh.
before Johan gets rolling into
Should I
this.
go to the first one?
No, you're fine.
Oh, okay.
Just the whole front of we'll call it the front of the house. That's all going to stay the same. So
Good point.
make sure we'll have plenty of signs and markings and stuff. That'll all go exactly the same. What we're changing this year is going to be more in the gym. So
yeah. So in the past, we've just to compare and contrast it. In the past, we've had a group of coaches, and we run the kids through the drills, and then we line them up, and we all kind of get together and say, well, is that kid a 4 or is that kid a 3? Oh, that's my son, right? Oh, wow, that's your son. He's great, right? And it was like about some fake promotion of kids to like get them off, and you got kids sandbagging and other people evaluating low. It was just really and it took forever, and I think that we did a pretty good job, but it was still a rather inefficient process. So what we're going to do instead, right, and so you spent a lot of time talking and looking at the kids standing around. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to do a dribbling and athleticism drill. We're going to do a shooting assessment, and we're going to do a scrimmage. And what we're going to do is each of these are going to be ranked, right? So dribbling is going to get 5 points. Athleticism, you can see that, shooting 10, the scrimmage 10, defense 10. And what these evaluation scores are going to be made independently, right? So the high school, and what we mean by that, there's going to be a board member and volunteer coaches that are going to be off on the side, and they will be the ones entering data into a spreadsheet to give that player, instead of a 1 to 5 star or a 1 to 5 point rating, up to a 40 point rating system, right? So the range is going to be much broader. We want to make sure that the coach is not in that age division. The example I have here is if you are doing 9 to 12, if you're going to be a 9th to 12th grade boys coach, that player, or that you won't be evaluating from a score perspective that player. You can observe and you can make your own notes, and we will make all the materials available to you beforehand, but you won't, and you can disagree or agree. You can rate them however you want to. Right? The board member and this evaluator, who are off on the side and who will be removed from you as coaches, you won't be able to have interaction with them. They will collaborate and agree on, yeah, that kid is a 4 point dribbler, or that kid is not athletic at all, and we're going to give him a 1. That kid's a shooter, definitely an 8 or a 9, right? So at the end of the day, right, at each of these 3 different stations, that's when the coach coordinator will add up these 3 different station scores, because the dribbling, athleticism, shooting, and scrimmage people will not be talking to one another. Okay? I'm gonna do maybe one or two more slides, and then we're gonna stop for questions. We'll back up. All right, players. We're going to be asked to show up at the allotted times. That's on the website. We talked about the 40% scale, and we'll do some rate. Right, the rules right now talk about a 5-point scale. We're going to change that in the rules to represent quintiles. All right, this is a little bit more back-end logistic stuff. The other thing that I really wanted to mention is, the numbers, because you're so far removed, it's going to be really hard to see if we continue to use that tape, right, with an ink marker. I kind of tried to illustrate it here, and I even think this is doing it justice. It was small, right, but from across the room, you won't be able to read it. So what we're going to have is these really big numbers, kind of like the racing bib numbers that you see on a 10K. So the kids should be nice and easy to identify, and we may have them off on the side for just a few minutes after they do their practice and scrimmages, just so you can kind of continue to look and say, oh, okay, that's how I rank and rate this player. So hopefully that will help. This is just a little bit of an example On the day, we may do it a little bit differently, but we basically have a board member and a couple of evaluators. We'll run some dribble and athleticism drills here. Then we'll put them into the wrestling room at Folsom Middle. Then we'll send them in to do some scrimmage or some shooting and rebounding drills, and then they'll shoot off over here, right? Board member and evaluators are here independently looking and making the comments for all the kids into their sheet. And then at the end of the day, 1, 2, and 3 are combined by the coach coordinator, put in a spreadsheet, and provided to you. I think this is just rules. So coaches, this is what we want you to do and what we don't want you to do. We want you to attend evaluations. We're going to give you the blank player sheets, right? This is a call out. We may need your help to do other age divisions aside from yours, but we'll get there. You may be asked to help volunteer to run a drill for something outside of your age group, right? You may walk around and observe, right? We're okay with that. We'll have like some alleyways for you guys to do that. You can ask for player numbers, right? You can rank these players however you want using whatever system you want, right? And we want your feedback. This is the first year we've done this, and we're going to see how it goes. We want to know how we can improve upon it. What else? Oh, the other thing that I didn't put in this slide is we're also going to record the height this year, and we're going to make that available to you. So, sometimes you have the tall, very tall, kind of tall, short. You have some sort of a height system, but it's really hard after seeing 100 and X players, right, over 2 hours. I don't know what medium tall is anymore. Okay, what we don't want is interrupting the evaluations. We don't want you, hey, Billy, come over here. I want to ask you a few questions. Don't do that. Don't go to up to the board member or the volunteer and say, what did you rank that kid? Is that kid a 30? Is that a 28? What did you, who is that? Right? We really want to, because these guys are going to be busy with a lot of numbers and a lot of players. So we want them to have the full concentration and not have you guys interrupt them. So,
let me hit a couple questions.
Yeah, I'll get to the plea for more. We're going to update the rules to quintiles. That's whatever. Let's go to some questions.
Okay, so a couple of them that have come up. What if they don't show up? We're going to have a makeup evaluation like we always do. We're really strongly encouraging people to attend evaluations this year. The blind draft is truly going to be blind this year. You're not going to know their name. You're going to get a number, and it's going to be drawn through a hat, and there's not going to be any messing around on that. In the years past, it's gotten a little loose, and we're going to tighten that up. So one of the questions was, what if your son can't make it? Again, you guys are coaches. You should be getting your kids there. We offer 2 opportunities. Should be able to make one of those to make this important. And then the last little question I have here, 1st and 2nd graders do not draft. We place them on teams, usually according to schools, try to keep the kids together as good as we can. But again, that's a little process that's not totally perfect, but it usually works out just fine.
I wanted to give the kids, like the 1st and 2nd graders, a lot of, heavy weight exercises, but Dan said no. I don't know. All right, just kind of keep it fun. Okay. Okay. So, any other questions, Dan, or are we?
I think we're good.
We're good.
Yep.
Okay.
For now.
Okay. Cool. So, okay, we're actually cruising through this pretty quickly, which is awesome. And I'm loving the chat. I think this is great, and we're having great attendance right now. So almost half the coaches in the league are on the line right now, which is fantastic. So thank you. Okay, coach evaluators. So we are we're short a little bit on coach evaluators at the moment. So here's what we would like you to do. Please help us evaluate. again, you won't be evaluating your kids, you'll be evaluating other kids. If this is really a call out to folks that this is not really for first time coaches, guys, unless you have, a lot of coaching experience and you are good and you love this stuff, right? This is really more of a call out to our more experienced evaluators. But help us out. Help us out to make a more fair league. And the process to go about, there's going to be signups on the FYBA website where you can kind of, I put the different slots up, or you can contact your coach coordinator and they'll help you through evaluating or finding a good time to be a coach evaluator. Yep.
Question that came through, pretty important one. I guess a little bit of a concern. How two evaluators are going to be able to evaluate 10 players in 5 minutes? Based on my experience and a lot of the rest of us, you can usually tell pretty fast. Now, are you going to be able to know if they're going to be a future NBA star? Probably not. But usually a couple passes, a couple shots, you can see how they're, shooting the ball or they're holding the ball, how their dribble looks, how their defense, where their positioning is. And like I said, that's why we wanted to get folks out there that have some experience and can see these things right away.
In years past, we think we're probably going to get a good close to 15 minutes of evaluation time and eyeballs through with 8 or more coaches looking at the kid and collaborating on a score. Compare that with a group think of 20 or 30, but only about 5 minutes of stuff. So we think that what happens is a lot of times, so we think the truth will come out to the best of our ability. And we really, given the number of kids in the league, which is approaching 1,600, we only have so much time. It's just sheer math. So we think that this evaluation process actually gives us more time to find out the truth, because there are sandbaggers who just kind of, especially at the high school levels, who for a number of different reasons will just kind of flub the tryouts and make themselves look really bad. I think the strategy there is, hey, if I look really bad, I'll be evaluated low, but I'm actually really good, so I'll get on a team where we're all good and we'll just crush the competition. It's a good, 9th to 12th grade boy mentality.
Yeah, there's a good question there. Will we use evaluation scores from previous years? I know we'll look at it, especially for this year, because that's a good point. A kid that was a 5 last year shouldn't be a 20 this year, unless he didn't grow and he's still 4'8" and everybody else is 6'6". But yeah, we'll look at that. We're going to try to spend a lot of time, and we'll get more of your input as we go through this process and make it work.
Yeah, I think we'll do the best we can. I would fall short of. Oh yeah, you got a compliment, Dan. There you go.
Thanks, Doug.
I would fall short of saying that we're gonna cross-reference every player to look for that fraud. That might be a little difficult, but there's also people that we know. Hey, wait a minute, this person's a really great player, and there's something wrong with the way they've been ranked. Okay.
A question on, do we get to secure our assistant coach pre-draft? No, we do not. When the draft comes around, you might have to pull that kid and pick them early, a little bit ahead of when you might have wanted to. But that's, a lot of times there's some deals made, trades during the draft, and that's okay too. But to be fair, you can't say, oh, this other kid's a 39 and my kid's a 40, and he's going to be my assistant coach. And, so it has to still play out.
All right. I'm gonna continue, and then there's another question section. So Dan, you monitor the chat. I'm gonna keep going. There's not much more left, and then there's another time for questions, and we can go back and review anything that we've talked about. So this is other coach tips and resources. This is really the last thing that I wanted to talk about today, and this kind of runs the gamut. It's certainly not the it's a short list of tips and resources, some things to consider. So and I want to actually address the draft here, which is not on here. When you go to the draft, don't wing it. Please, please, please come prepared. You can tell the coaches that have done their homework and said, okay, I need this center. I need, these kids have height. This is going to be my shooting guard, right? And they have a couple choices. Do not think that you can just wing it at the evaluate, or excuse me, on draft night, because on some of these divisions, there's many teams and many players, and unless you want to be there for 3 or 4 hours, and some of us have gone through a 4-hour draft marathon session, and it's excruciating. So anyway, I don't know how much more emphasis I can put on it. Do your homework, so you're not kind of going, well, what about this player? What about that player, right? And be meticulous, concentrate. So you're marking off people during the draft, right? So the other thing that will happen is people will say, no, that one is taken. No, that one's taken. So take it seriously, prepare for the draft, and participate in the draft actively. And yet, let me see. Anything else on the draft? No, and this year we don't want to. In the past, some people have brought their kids or their assistant coach or other people. They've been on the phone, talking to people, and making it collaborative. We've had even players. We've even had coaches during the draft tweet out their selection round by round by round. So there's just a couple things that this is not the NBA. This is not entertainment, right? So we actually asked just the coaches that are recruiting players be in attendance and phones off.
Brian Jay's got a great question. When the coaches get the player rankings, will scores be broken out by skill area? Absolutely. This is one of the areas we think will really help somebody. You need a guard, and so you're going to look for somebody that's got great ball handling skills. You're going to see that a kid, he might score a 5 in dribbling, but maybe in one of the other ones he wasn't so good. So that will hopefully help you kind of formulate your team. That the whole point of it is to get you more information so that you're not so worried about, well, how do you know your notes? Well, this guy's been coaching for 25 years. His notes are better than mine, and his kids know all these kids. And I've been there. I've coached several teams where I don't have a kid in that grade, and it's extremely difficult. I think this new process is going to be really good for somebody that may not have a lot of that intel. Plug for your company.
Well, hey, so there's another question on the bridge, which was in the past I was encouraged to keep teams together. Is that not the case? I'm assuming the question is, keep having the same players on a team, so year to year to year. I guess our position is that if that's the way you draft, that's okay. But you want to have the most successful team, and kids drop in and out of the league. The makeup of the league is, even in as kids progress, it can change a lot with people moving out, people moving in. So yeah, so I would say it's awesome to have a core group of kids that know each other. They learn how to play basketball together. That's great. Friendships, that's great. But I would say never prioritize, having the very specific players that you want like the friends, right? I'm gonna have a team full of friends versus a team that can fulfill the roles and hang with the rest of the players because you'll have a long season.
A couple quick ones. Are assistant coaches invited to draft night? No, because you don't have your assistant coach yet. What time is draft? We have not come up with the times or what we're going to do with the drafts.
Great question.
In previous years, we've had the coach coordinators handle all this. I'm looking at some other options, possibly doing it at just maybe one facility, all of us broken out in rooms, but where we can still help each other. So we're still working on that, and you'll get that info as soon as we have it. I'm reading David's.
Who hasn't been taken about using a projector to mark the numbers off? That's the
yeah. No, the technology would be great. Absolutely, David. That's a good question. Yeah, trying to scramble through a bunch of Excel docs that have names and numbers and stuff on it is not ideal. Possibly we can look at that too when we're looking at the drafts locations.
Yeah. So far we've had it up to the coach coordinator to run these. In some grades, like fourth grade girls, it's not that big of a deal, but fifth grade boys, it's a huge deal. So we'll take that under advisement. I like the idea.
Another question, what if we can't make the draft? The draft won't necessarily be on the 20th, so that's just when drafts will begin. We have not released the date of that yet. If you can't make the draft, you can certainly give a list to your coach coordinator, and they can try to draft as many people as they can that you're looking at. Otherwise, they would just take the next best person.
Okay. A couple other things here. Practices. Also have a plan. Don't wing it. This was magic to me one year, especially for the younger kids. I said, "Hey," this was fourth grade girls. I said, "Hey, girls, what are you confused about?" And I got more insight into and more success out of teaching them when I just simply asked them, "Hey, do you understand this rule?" Right? Because in the heat of the moment, and maybe at a timeout, why did they call that? I don't understand. Right? So that's actually cool. Try to make it fun. My suggestion is don't you have an hour. If you spend a lot of time doing liners or conditioning or anything like that, you're going to eat up all your precious time. So I wouldn't do that. Substitution. We try to strive for every player playing 50% of the game. Right, and we're out there, guys. We monitor games, and parents talk to us, so we know it's hard. So just strive for that. Make sure that everyone plays. Okay. Call it a challenge to your coaching skill and prowess. All right, referee interaction. I'm pretty serious about this one. We talked about it before. I'll just do it one more time. If you have a clarification call, right? Hey, what was that? I didn't hear it. Do that after the game. Shake the referee's hands. Say good job. Slap him on the back. Right. Other than that, don't challenge them. Don't talk to them. Right. Let's make it a positive experience for the refs as well. Dan, anything you want to add on that one?
Well, it's a big thing. They're our kids too, and a lot of this is their first job. And keep it positive. We want them to improve. And some of these kids have actually gone on to referee AAU from the experience they've gained in the FYBA. So it's really cool to see, and we can be teachers as well, and not even provide a good example for them, but just some good ideas for them to improve.
And if you think they're really bad, try it yourself. Right? We're always looking for great referees, and you can make a few bucks on the side. So skills and drills. There's a lot of people may not know about this. We have on the player or volunteer tab, log in under the skills library. There's like over 200 videos. So if you're looking for some different things, to mix up your practices, go check out that resource. We buy that for you guys. Our license doesn't allow it to just put it up on the public site, but we want to call that out. Let me see. Let's go to the web chat questions, and then we'll get back to this other stuff.
Couple questions here. When do coaches of first and second grades get their roster? All teams get their rosters at the same time. So when they're released, they'll be released to everyone. That will be towards the end. Well, a couple weeks probably into November. You'll probably know it before your you'll know before your practices start. You'll be able to have time to meet with them before your practices start. First and second grades do not get a out of Saturday. They only practice and play their games on Saturday, but you're free to do practices on your own as well. I did several practices outdoors at courts, and you can do that as much as you want. Can I bring a friend to evaluation?
Nope.
Yes. Well, I'd hate to totally say no, just because if somebody is new to the sport, and what we want, and Johan mentioned it before, is for you to be prepared. So if it doesn't hold things up, but we don't want kids there either. A lot of times all that does is slow things down, because you're sitting there talking between each other. You're not paying attention to who's being drafted. And it's really like the better that you can just be prepared, be focused on what's going on, it'll help you.
I would say, as a Paul, generally don't. I mean, I think Dan covered it, right? Don't do it if you are we have some coaches that are stepping up and saying, I'm not really that experienced, and I could really use some help on this. I've never even done a draft before, right? Talk to your coach coordinator and have them make an exception, right? And if someone says, hey, I wanted to bring my son, right, and this person is allowed to bring, right, we're going to get into some weird situations, right? So talk to the coach coordinators. It's not that we don't want parents to have great bonding experiences with their sons, but the thing we've observed is that generally happens at the high school level, and it's because the high school son knows the real players from the people who've sandbagged, and you get really mismatched teams, right? I wish it wasn't so, but it is so. So try to go it alone. If you need an exception, talk to your coach coordinator. They'll run it by us. Okay, is that fair?
Question about coach mentors. Absolutely. We have several people that would be more than happy to come to your practices, help you write a practice plan. Whatever you need, we will help you as much as we can, but you got to ask. I mean, I hear a lot of this sometimes, and then I never, oh, did they ever call you? No, they never did. So just take advantage of it. The videos are great. Can you bring an experienced coach who does not have a child playing? Jody, sorry, I can't help you with your draft. You're on your own.
So this would fall into the same thing, right? Talk to your coach coordinator about about an exception, right? And then and let's just address it offline. I think you kind of get the gist of where we're going and what we're trying to prevent. We want fast, smooth, and at some point you need to have control of your team. So let me see. Let's go back to the slide set. I threw this down. This is coach chatter, or even parental chatter. These gyms are small. You don't even have to raise your voice very much to have it carry, and you don't know who's in the gym, right? So my suggestion is to just keep it positive, keep it instructional, and focus on your players only, right? In the huddle, it's like, hey, that player isn't the greatest outside shooter, so you can sag off a little bit and give some help defense to their great shooter. That would be okay coaching advice, right? In the middle of a game saying, that kid can't shoot at all, right? That's going to crush that kid. So just be aware, even in the heat of the moment, your control of your facilities, just keep it positive. Post game, have a good pep talk. Sometimes that's picking the kids up after losing. Sometimes it's, keeping them, humble after a win. Just keep it short, right? From my experiences, my kids being on other teams and just being a coach, after a few minutes, they start zoning. So keep it short, also keep it positive. And I love the question about mentors. Yeah, talk to other coaches, talk to the board members, right? Because we've all coached teams, sometimes multiple teams, and at all sorts of different grade levels. So yeah, we're here to help. I mean, our mission is to kind of promote youth basketball, right? We're happy to help.
Don't lose sight of the fact that this is a fun event and make it fun. You're not going to create a LeBron James in one season from a kid that's never played before. So just help build them up, and help improve them and take little baby steps at improvement. You'll see a big difference in a kid when they're smiling when they start doing something right. Mm-hmm. It's pretty cool.
Yep. Okay. I think that actually covers the material that we wanted to cover today. I think we've gotten a good job of getting to almost all, if not all, of the chat questions. Certainly, this is a time to ask any last questions for any of the material. And I have a question for you guys. Please email, go to the email and send us some feedback about what you liked, what you didn't, improvement areas for this webcast. There are two, so that would be good. You can send it to Dan if you want to. If you want to talk smack about Johan, that's okay too. We have two other orientation sessions, one at makeup and one on the evaluation day. You don't have to attend those, right? We've done that, so that's perfectly. We appreciate you joining this, and we're all good.
Let's hit a couple questions that are kind of filed in right now. Just need to bring a pen to evals. Well, you'll need to bring your sheets that have all your information on it. You'll get those ahead of time in an email from your coach coordinator. Doug asked, are we taking attendance? We're doing a little screenshot of everybody who's online. So yes, we kind of did it.
I'm doing it right now.
The MacGyver way.
Yeah, this is like our seat doesn't. We just command shift questions. What's up, command shift? Just give me 1 second.
Hurry up.
All right, there we go. All right, go back to the chat. Here we go. All right.
Okay, questions. Where are we at?
We're at the bottom.
Question: no first and second grade evaluations. Correct. There is no evaluations for those grade levels. Just orientations on Saturday. New coaches can sit side by side with master coach. Yes, absolutely, Miles. The academy is a great spot to get some experience and get some good drills for your practices as well. Take advantage of it.
Assistant coach not in the league?
Yes, you can have an assistant coach that does not have a child in the league. They would need to go through the same fingerprint process, but absolutely, we do that all the time. Another question again about the blind assessment. That just means basically if you're not evaluated in the draft, the kid will go in there as a number. So somebody can just not go to evaluations. And let's say one of the coaches knows the kid 6'6", 200 and can dunk, but nobody else does. Well, he's just going to show up as a number. So that coach is not going to know who he is. So that's kind of a nutshell version of the blind draft.
Yeah, in years past, it could be, Paul Sams, and that's the 6'6", dominant guy. But no one knows who this Paul guy is. And all of a sudden, a coach will say, my friend, this is my son's friend. And in the third round or the fourth round, we'll pick up this person from that that blind and completely imbalance the team. So we're trying to guard against that. Yeah, no, your kids will play for you. The question is, can another parent take my kid away and draft them? No, no. And in fact, in the draft rules, you depending on how your child is ranked, you don't even have a choice in which round you can draft them. The rules basically say the higher they're ranked, the earlier that you must pick them in the draft.
I tried for 5 years unsuccessfully to have someone else draft my kid, and they just wouldn't take him. So nice try, though. All-star kids.
So yeah, looks like a lot of parents want to get rid of their kids. Love it. No. All right. All right. Well, thanks. That's our time. I know everyone is really busy with work and life, and adding another hour conference call on top of other conference calls and whatever else you do is a commitment. We appreciate it. We did record this, and we're gonna put it. I'm gonna see how the file goes, and we're gonna try to put this on the website for you guys. And of course, the materials are already posted on the website. If you can't make Saturday, we have a makeup evaluation. We'll be talking to you about that. But highly encouraged to make Saturday. All right, guys. We're going to sign off.
Thanks very much for attending, guys.
All right. Take care, everyone.
Baby. 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 Baby.